Good afternoon, this is the Angry Astronaut. Got a brief update for you today about the whole UAP investigation and all of the strange footage associated with it, and we have another spherical UFO. This one was actually filmed back in 2020 by military contractor Andy Segovia as he was driving to work at the El Mirage airfield near Adelanto, California. Once again, I'd ask you to keep in mind, this was 2020, 2 years prior to the time that ERA went public with information regarding these spherical UFOs and how commonly they were beginning to appear, at least as far as official military reports were concerned. Now, Segovia testified that he was driving to work at the El Mirage airfield when he saw this 10-foot diameter sphere hanging in the air. He took out his iPhone 7, keep in mind, an iPhone 7, and started filming the object that was no more than 50 feet in the air, or so he thought, and shooting a pretty clear video in my opinion compared to a lot of the grainy UFO videos that we generally see. Now, he told reporters that to the naked eye, the object looked like dark tinted glass. It was the size of a palm tree, about 6 to 10 feet in diameter, and most importantly, was completely silent. Now, I'd like to compare this with a spherical drone that was recently demonstrated on YouTube. Now, to be clear, I dig this thing. It's amazing, but at the same time, you can see just how much thrust is required in order to keep something like this aloft in our gravity and our atmosphere, especially if it doesn't have any wings to glide on. And if it were using some other type of propulsion system, such as directed air jets, as has been suggested by some of the more advanced spherical drones out there, well, those sorts of things make a lot of noise too. Turbojets of any kind using directed air in order to provide thrust, lift, etc. They're not silent. At the same time though, perhaps there is some new stealth technology out there that would allow for something like this to exist. But of course, the question I would have, why would something this top secret be tested in an area that is open to military contractors like Mr. Segovia? But let's get back to his testimony. Quote, "I thought it was a balloon at first. As I got closer, I could see that it wasn't tethered to anything. There was no sign of propulsion, there was no noise, it was just sitting there. And by the way, the media agencies that broke this story investigated the day that the incident took place and the time that it took place, and there was definitely a wind at that time, according to the weather reports. Approximately 10 miles per hour, not an incredibly strong wind, but certainly enough to make a Mylar balloon float away from Mr. Segovia, which it did not do. Now, at the time, he was doing building maintenance work for General Atomics, a military contractor that makes the MQ-9 Reaper drone, interestingly enough, so perhaps it was something new that they were working on. But after filming the object, he went into a building 15 feet away, took one measurement with an instrument in that building, perhaps even to see whether or not it was giving off any sort of heat radiating energy, because he said he felt heat coming off of the object, but then he walked back out the door. He was in the building for 30 seconds and the object was gone. Completely out of sight. Quote, "I looked everywhere. It was a clear day. I would have seen it float away. It either disappeared or just shot out of there. I was bummed I didn't get that footage." Now, Segovia's foreman, Juan Valdez, was also with him that day, and Valdez confirmed that he saw the object too, but he didn't have anything else to say about the matter. Segovia went on to say, quote, "I looked around, I even walked over to see if it had come down to the ground. It was gone, nowhere to be seen. If I'd just stayed there another minute, I would have seen it zoom away or disappear." Now, Segovia said he would regularly see plane-shaped unmanned drones taking off and landing at the El Mirage airstrip, and that General Atomics worked on building and repairing drones there. But he said that the orb was unlike anything he had ever seen. "It came out silver when I shot the video," he said, "but it was a black tinted ball. It was giving off some kind of heat or something, some kind of wave where I couldn't see inside the ball. When you're driving to Vegas and it looks like there's water in the street, it was kind of like that. It was giving off some kind of wave. I'm assuming it was a heat of some type. I saw it up close. There was only a fence and a little piece of dirt dividing us. It was off their property, that is to say, General Atomics' property, because they leased the airfield in the middle of the desert. I don't know what it was doing there. It struck me as odd because it was floating there off property. It's very quiet out there in the middle of nowhere, and it was a clear day. Now, metadata researched by various media organizations, including the Daily Mail, said that it was filmed using an iPhone 7 Plus at 7:08 a.m. on August 4th, 2020, so the story checks out, with coordinates at El Mirage Field near Adelanto, northeast of Los Angeles. And according to weatherspark.com, weather data for Adelanto at that time shows winds of around 10 miles an hour blowing south. The object filmed by Segovia in 2020 appears similar, as I'm sure a lot of you can tell, to silver orbs that have been caught on camera from Reaper drones in the Middle East and published by AARO, the government's UFO investigation office. And by the way, AARO stands for All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. So why am I reporting on footage like this and not, for example, footage like this? Well, aside from the fact that the spelling error pisses me off, this is obviously set up and faked. I mean, he just happened to be pointing his camera in that direction at the moment that that UFO chose to fly over him. I mean, come on. And on top of that, those aliens must have decided that they wanted to put on a show for this guy because they flew right over him. Oh, and also led a couple of fighters on a merry chase right over his head as well. Yeah, so there are videos aplenty online on these types of topics, but this one I find to be a lot more compelling, simply because this individual, first of all, filmed this years ago and only just went public with it after AARO went public with their information. In other words, back in 2020, he probably thought it wasn't a great idea to go public with this kind of information because it tends to be kind of damaging to one's career, and only recently has the military changed their philosophy on reporting these sorts of incidents. And for that reason, I tend to believe what this man had to say about this particular incident, regardless of what the object might have been. And if indeed it was capable of clearing the area in a mere 30 seconds, well, either it has some sort of cloaking technology, or it was capable of some incredible velocities, once again, without making a sound. And that makes me very suspicious as to whether or not it was a man-made drone or the product of another civilization making use of advanced semiconductors and magnetic fields to achieve incredible velocities. That doesn't break the laws of physics. That's not impossible, at least from a theoretical standpoint, but it's certainly beyond our current technological capabilities, at least as far as we know. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and also I would like to thank Ambo Neck in Canada for becoming my latest Patreon supporter. I really appreciate it. Your support and the support of folks like you are what makes it possible for me to bring you this type of content full time. It is people like you that make my dream job possible, and I am very grateful for all of that. And if you'd like to join these folks, all the details are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and as always, stay angry about space.